The footsteps on the stone pavement woke me up. It seemed that I had fallen asleep. The jail cell got a ray of light from the window. Daybreak had come. The footsteps belonged to two of the private soldiers of the Hawks. They walked straight past my cell. It wasn't me they wanted. There was only one other person imprisoned here.
Get out!
I heard the jail cell being opened. I shifted from my seat to look toward the sound of the threatening voice. Olgar maintained his composure while obliging. He behaved with so much dignity that it was hard to see him as a prisoner. It was difficult to think that Olgar would be punished before me. Maybe they'd release him. That optimistic thought crossed my mind only briefly. New footsteps. One more person was coming into the jail. I subconsciously turned toward the sound. Lugus. I couldn't help but speak his name aloud. But he only glanced at me before moving to Olgar. The private soldiers forced Olgar to kneel before his son. Lugus and Olgar, father and son of the Hawks, faced each other. Though they were family, the air was tense.
I will ask you a few questions.
A cold tone. With Lugus's back facing me, I could only imagine what his expression was like when those words came out. Olgar looked up to his son without batting an eye.
You murdered the Lady of the Wolves, Francisca, over a personal grudge, and antagonized many of the Hawks. Do I have that correct? That's right.
It was as if an interrogation had just begun. But he was wrong. Although a personal grudge was part of it, what Olgar did was mostly due to the magical stone. They both knew that, but Lugus asked the leading question, to which Olgar admitted. Why?
You caused more discord between the Hawks and the Wolves, and dragged down the rest of the town. Do I have that correct? That is correct. As a result, many have lost their lives, and all of that. That is my responsibility.
Despite my confusion, they continued speaking matter-of-factly.
Did you think nothing of this town?
When Lugus said that, I could hear that his voice was slightly shaken. But Olgar?
No.
He answered immediately, while showing a dauntless smile on his face.
I've detested everything about this town from the beginning. That is why I wish to destroy it.
He was imprisoned, forced to kneel, but the tone of his voice had a regal feel to it.
It's your fault that our friends... Stop!
One of the private soldiers put his hand on his sword, but the other rushed to stop him. But both of them had a look of hatred in their eyes, an intent to kill each other. Yes, Olgar was about to be killed. He wanted to die, just like he told me yesterday. That was why he answered the way he did. For a brief moment, I saw the side of Lugus's face. His expression told me everything I needed to know. Lugus also knew what Olgar wanted.
It appears that a naive child like yourself doesn't understand what it will mean if you keep me alive. What are you talking about? The bounties of this secluded town will not remain with the winter cover. If so, what do you think will happen to the townsfolk with their lives at stake? The statesmen will breed discontent toward their ruler. That is you, the one who they deem their hero now.
The imprisoned king spoke with resentment and spite, and Olgar continued as if lecturing his son.
Among them, some will say that they preferred the previous ruler, and will come seeking me again. They will forget about their lives now, and they will forget about the war. The commoners are fools. They will easily forget things inconvenient to them. And you will save those who seek your rulership. Are you asking if I will lead them to defeat you? Let's say that it will be a sight to see. Master Lugus, This man must be executed immediately!
Pardon my intrusion, but I'm of the same opinion.
While the two soldiers were getting heated up, Lugus and Olgar didn't say anything. Why would he say something that would purposely make him hated? After some pauses of silence and demands for Olgar's death, Lugus finally spoke.
Your punishment will be decided later.
He turned around to leave the jail. The two soldiers returned Olgar to his cell before following. That was all that happened during the day. Neither Lugus nor anyone else came to the jail afterwards. Great. Well, this is so relaxing. Not tense at all. Olgar and I remained in silence until nightfall. Olgar. Mixed feelings of loneliness and anxiety compelled me to call out the name of the other prisoner here. No answer. I sort of assumed so. Why did you say something like that? I already knew why, but I asked him again. No answer again. I did hear the sound of his clothes rustling as he moved. I guess it's a waste of time to ask. I already knew this, but I was slightly disappointed. I put away that emotion in my heart and returned to the deafening silence. I should just go to sleep now. The next day, and the day after that, no matter how many days passed, Lugus didn't appear again. The only one who came was the man who delivered our food, but even he remained silent. Not a voice was heard in days. Olgar and I also didn't speak, even though we were father and daughter by blood. To be honest, there was a part of me that hadn't accepted that fact yet. Maybe my hatred toward Olgar was still there, but I wasn't even sure of that. How did Olgar accept that horrible past? How did he feel towards Francisca? It was difficult to imagine. I didn't know him well enough to know. But that was exactly why we needed to talk more. But I couldn't find the right words to say. Olgar denied that I was his daughter, and I accepted his decision. He'd ordered me to kill him, but before I could give him an answer, that role had been taken over by Lugus. There was nothing I needed to speak to him about. I didn't know what to say. Time continued to pass, day after day after day. Just waiting and waiting and waiting.
She's finally asleep.
Right after hearing the snoozing of the other dweller, Olgar finally opened his mouth for the first time in days. No one else should be there, but another voice spoke up. Of course it's him.
Yes, she's fast asleep. She probably won't wake unless you get really noisy.
Haku, what do you want?
I thought you called me. Didn't you want something?
You're a perceptive one. Now get me out of here.
That's simple enough to do.
Hugh's fingers slid across the lock on the bars. A clicking noise echoed through the jail. How did you do that? This guy has got all kinds of powers.
Come on out. But if there's anything else you want, I'd prefer you ask someone else.
He slowly got up and slid through the bars. He moved toward the exit, but stopped in front of another cell. After looking at the other prisoner's face for a few seconds, Olgar returned to his own cell. Why was that necessary?
Are you done?
Deliver a message for me.
Okay. After a few more exchanges, a metallic click sounded again. Hugh vanished, and silence returned to the jail once more. It's like, I just wanted to look upon her face. That's all. Before I die. The silence was broken a few days later. I heard footsteps late into the night. The source of the footsteps carried a lamp as it slowly descended down to the jail. The person bringing in food would never come at this hour. Then... Lugus? I spoke out to the source of the lamplight. But that question was drowned out by new footsteps following. There were now 3 sources of light, allowing me to finally see. I knew it. It was Lugus and the private guards of the Hawk. Is it time? Just like that day, Lugus only glanced at me before heading to the jail cell further down.
Olgar.
I sensed someone moving to Lugus's call. Olgar should have been expecting Lugus to come.
Your sentence has been decided. You will pay for your crimes with death.
Lugus spoke in a cold tone. I couldn't sense any emotion he had for his father.
I see.
Olgar only responded with the bare minimum. His tone seemed to have a hint of relief.
Let's hear when and how. We will not deny the honor and achievements of you as the previous lord. That is why we will give you the choice of the time.
I stuck my face close to the bars to try and see their exchange. I saw something taken out of Lugus's chest pocket. It appeared to be a bottle. He reached through the bars and placed it in front of Olgar. He then walked away. I wasn't entirely certain, but he appeared to be walking at a quicker pace. Was the message for Lugus to bring him, like, his last drink of wine or something? Before he dies? Peace and quiet returned to the jail cell, shrouded in darkness. All he did was leave that bottle behind. But before that, Lugus clearly said he'd atone for his sins with death. Oh, is it poison? Okay. I'm slow. Never mind. Maybe that was like, you can choose when you die. Here you go. It's up to you. In other words, that bottle contained... Olgar. What's that? I asked him through the darkness.
It's poison for suicide.
How horrible. But I expected as much. I heard the grating scrapes of the glass on the stone floor. Olgar was now holding the bottle. Wait! I shouted out in reflex.
If I die, this world will end.
Was that why he was doing this? I think he also hopes that maybe he'll see Arya one last time before he crosses, as he's crossing. I hear Olgar tapping the glass bottle in his hand. What about Lugus? Does he know that? About what will happen after you die?
I had Haku tell him.
Olgar made it sound like it was nothing. Haku was the servant that was under Olgar for years. It was another form that Hugh took. But if Lugus knew that the world would end and still gave Olgar the poison...
Lugus must have thought that it wouldn't happen.
Hugh said that too. He said that the chance of the world not ending was higher. Then... nothing would happen with Olgar's death. His death could be meaningless. And he still wanted to drink the poison? Was ending it all what he wanted? A twisting sound echoed unnaturally. Olgar just opened the lid of the bottle. When he drinks it, he will die. Die? Olgar will die with the poison Lugus handed him? I had been nothing but a bystander, but I suddenly... Olgar, stop! I grabbed the metal bars, gripping my hands tightly onto them. I still hadn't come to a conclusion about him yet. I had to stop him by force. How could I get into the other cell? Damn it! But that was not meant to be. The rusted bars stood between Olgar and me. I could never reach him. The only thing that could was my voice. This is wrong! It doesn't matter whether the world will end or not! You can't just throw your life away! You can't give up! I knew it was futile, but I shook the bars with all my might. A grating, rattling sound echoed. I had to do something. Anything. And you and Lugus are supposed to be family! How can the child decide his parents' death? Lugus respected you, as a father and as the Hawk Lord. So why are you doing this? I didn't know what else to say. What else could I say? How could I stop Olgar? Or perhaps nothing I did mattered.
I thought you detested me.
Olgar spoke. He was right. He murdered Francisca. And with T, if it weren't for this man... I did hate you. But now... I know your past.
The past.
After all that's happened, this kind of ending is too... It's too sad. I finally realized that I was sad. About what happened to Olgar. About why he grew to hate this world. I'm just... sad.
You've grown to be a good daughter.
Huh?
I understand why he would have feelings for you. Fate can be a strange thing.
The tense atmosphere seemed to relax. Something about Olgar had changed. He used to be a ruthless man, the merciless lord of the Hawks, but now he was neither. Father. Damn, right at the end she calls him father. My heart! An existence I never knew crossed my mind.
I had no intention of becoming a father. I had thought my child died with Arya. Yet, I needed an heir. I adopted an orphan from the church for that reason. I thought to pick the one most appropriate and just take him home. However...
I listened to Olgar talking of his past. It was the same story as the person who was adopted at the church.
There was a child with burn scars on both arms.
Burns? Lugus's burn scars on his arms were covered with tattoos, but I did remember seeing them once. During that moment, him.
It was the mark of the sinner.
Then...
His parent committed a crime, and his arms were burned. I was the one who ordered it to be done.
Oh, it was on your orders. Okay. The sin of Lugus's parents. And because of that, Lugus...
He may have already known, but there was no need to tell him outright. Especially not of the sins of his own father.
Which father did he mean, right? Lugus's biological father? Or Olgar?
I thought he had died somewhere, but he appeared before me again. It's as if he forced me to look at the burns. It became proof of my sins of not saving Arya and my sister, for taking his family away.
Olgar laughed in a self-deprecating way. Then why did you take in Lugus? If those burns were the mark of your sins, why?
I liked his eyes. While all the other children shook in fear, only he glared at me. They were the eyes of a hawk.
Olgar seemed to enjoy reveling in the past.
I told him that I would take him with me, and he refused to budge if I did not take tea as well. That is why I took them both.
Ah, Lugus sticking up for his sister.
Looking back, that was the only time Lugus begged me for anything.
I tried to imagine the two of them. T must have loved Lugus, even back then. It was when they were children. Despite where we were and the situation we were in, I wanted to hear more.
I promised to erase the marks of their sins. More pain would accompany it. I asked if he could withstand it, and he glared at me with those same eyes again. Upon hearing his answer, I covered his burns with tattoos.
Tattoos? So that's why. One of my questions was answered. Hooray!
You thought it was in crude taste.
I didn't think that. I did a little, but I was a bit taken aback by it, even though it may have been done for Lugus' sake.
There is no need for him to be burdened by the sins of this father.
Those words felt like they were directed at me, too.
That once thin child is now the Lord of the Hawks, ruling over the town.
He's your son. If I could make him feel that Lugus was indeed his son... Lugus kept to your teachings as your...
That is all the more reason I am not needed in this town.
Olg! I didn't have time to stop him. Aw, man, we got all inverted. No! Without a speck of hesitation, Olgar tipped the bottle in one smooth motion. At least you had, like, one decent conversation with your dad before he died and learned about Lugus and tea and things. Ah. That was the only sound I could muster. In that instant, Olgar had drunk the entire bottle.
Gah!
Olgar! A painful groan. He coughed blood and crumbled to the floor. He was speaking fondly of his past just a moment ago, but it suddenly ended. Olgar! Olgar! I couldn't run to him. The bars got in the way as I banged on them. I had to get out of here. But how? I know. That man. Hugh! Come out here! Please get me out of here! Hurry! I screamed, but no one responded. The one time I wanted him. Hugh didn't appear. No! Olgar! Olgar! All I could do was call his name while his life was about to end. Olgar's mouth moved. He was trying to say something. I had to listen. I let go of the bars and tried to calm myself as much as I could. Silence returned to the jail cell. I heard a very faint voice.
This is how it should be.
He said nothing else. Olgar? His breath and life seemed to have completely disappeared. He lost his life so easily. This isn't how it should be. You just went and died. How can it... I want to give him a piece of my mind, until my voice grew hoarse. But there was no one to say it to. Olgar's eyes had closed. He didn't move at all, and he never would. Why? Why? It was only moments ago that I heard him speak of the older days in memory. I wanted to hear more. Why didn't I ask him sooner? We had plenty of time alone in the jail. Olgar. I called his name one last time. I felt weak and sat on the floor. That was all I could do. Even doing that, nothing would change. The world didn't change. Olgar was dead. He took his own life. His corpse remained where it was, laying there before me. The two sets of bars blocked me from reaching that place. I suddenly couldn't see Olgar anymore. Someone was blocking my view. When did you get here? What happened? Lugus. How long had he been there? Did he just come back? Just to confirm Olgar's death? Or... when did you... Were you... listening the whole time? Why did you do this? Why did you murder Olgar? Answer me! Say something! I threw my anger at Lugus by shouting at him. Lugus didn't say anything, making me even more angry. The fury building up within blinded me until I finally noticed Lugus grieving. Lugus?
This is what Father wanted.
He finally spoke. I knew that too. I really thought I did. Is that why you killed him? Because that's what Olgar wanted?
I won't justify it. I am guilty of patricide. It's a sin that can never be washed away.
If you really think that, then why...
I've told you this before. Father taught me how to wield power,
Huh? I tried to remember what he was talking about. I did remember him saying that. But when was it? That's right, it was when we were stuck in the tower.
I also learned from him that obtaining such power is not always something to be proud of.
I hear a loud clicking noise while Lugus talked. I wondered what the sound was, but quickly realized it was my jail cell being unlocked. Just a while earlier, I couldn't do anything, but Lugus opened the way for me so easily. But I didn't know the reason. Why?
The captured witch watched the Lord of the Hawks die.
He spoke as if reading a script, describing Olgar and me.
The witch despaired, knowing she would not be spared herself. By coincidence, the bottle held by the Lord of the Hawks rolled to her feet.
That wasn't true. The bottle was still by Olgar's side.
The witch picked up the bottle and drank the remaining poison to take her own life. That was the plan Father thought of.
Even after listening to the whole thing, I had no idea what he meant. Was he telling me to die? Did he unlock my cell so I could go fetch the bottle? No, he's saying it's time to put your wig back on, girl, and take on your full-time AIR personality. And, the story that will be told to everyone is this story. Your dad saved you. Kinda. No. Could it be? He wanted to make it seem as if that happened?
That's right. He did this so that I could save you.
Me? There's no way. Because Olgar said that if he died, the world would vanish. Why would he think about the world after his own death? No. Maybe that was wrong in the first place and Olgar didn't think the world would end? But despite that, he desired his own death, even going so far as to devise a way so that I would be spared. That didn't make me happy at all. It was so selfish. He didn't consider how I would feel as I watched him die. And even if it was indirectly, how Lugus would feel killing his own father. I looked up to see Lugus's face.
I agreed to Father's plan, knowing everything full well. He said that only I could fulfill this duty. Or rather, it is a duty I must fulfill. Furthermore, I couldn't shake off my desire to save you.
Lugus had already made that decision. He had not shown himself for days ever since the first visit. Was he contemplating it the entire time?
You are now dead. Even when you leave here, you can never go out in public. I cannot guarantee a peaceful life either. Even so, will you come with me?
Lugus held out his hand to me. Olgar gave me a chance to live. Now Lugus carried his will. Olgar took his own life so that I might live, and Lugus assisted in the death of his father so that I might live. I could not genuinely be happy about what they had done for me. I felt so helpless. Tears started streaming down my face. I roughly wiped the tears away, and with the same hand I took Lugus's. His expression seemed to brighten just slightly. I wanted to make it up to this father and son. That was how I sincerely felt. The next day, the deaths of the old Hawk Lord and the witch were spread across the town. I didn't know how the people reacted to the news. Did they really believe that announcement? Were there any people who objected? I had no way of knowing because I stayed in a room at the Hawk Manor. All secret-like. It was cramped for how extravagant the manor was. This small space was now my world. I was not allowed to leave. I couldn't walk freely within the manor, let alone the town. I would live here as a woman. At night, the only man who knew me would come to visit. Who would have known a cage ending would be here with Lugus? Of all people! Huh. I had more freedom with the Yandere than with Lugus. This is an interesting predicament I found myself in. That was the only thing I looked forward to. I didn't find it to be suffocating. I was able to live within this place. I was allowed to be kept alive here. That was all thanks to the father and his son. Even as I lived like this, time continued to pass. The season of the Masquerade Festival was approaching once more. Is that like the one day you can go out because you can wear a mask? That'd be amazing. The preparations had already been completed. With nothing to do in the confines of my room, I felt joy in being able to participate even in the slightest. I wore the dress given to me that morning, and checked over and over again to see if all was well. All that was left was to wait for him. That's amazing. I heard a knock on the door. As usual, the door opened without my response. I'm wearing my same outfit again.
Sorry I'm late.
It's all right. Through the crack in the door, I noticed that it was already dark outside. The time for the festival had arrived. I picked up the mask on my lap and stood up. Only once a year, on the day of the masquerade, was I allowed to go into town. Only on this day, where the people donned masks hiding who they really were. Whoops! I tripped over myself, but Lugus quickly held me up.
Are you alright?
I'm sorry. I haven't walked in a while. That's not good, girl. You gotta at least pace in your room. Gotta have some kind of exercise. Sheesh.
I'm really sorry.
You don't need to apologize. There was nothing for him to apologize for. I was allowed to live thanks to Lugus and Olgar. That was enough for me. That was why I would cherish my life. For the both of us. That was the only thing I could do now.
Your hand.
I put my hand over his. We felt each other's warmth.
No matter where we go, I shall protect you. Always. As long as I live.
Yes. As long as I live, too. Did we get married? Lugus escorted me as we slowly walked out of the manor. Okay, I won't lie. Like, this is a super cute picture. To the town, and to the outside world I hadn't seen in a year. Is that how it ends? Girl? That's really how it ends. Oh. Whew. That's spicy. I really wish they had left town together. I really, really wish they had. And I still don't know what happened to T. Why is T forsaken in all these endings? I just want to know what happens to my girl. She just gets left at the church forever in all these stories and doesn't get any better. Again, if she's just going to be in hiding anyway, why don't you just hide her at the tower? No one goes out there. She has plenty of room. She has her own place. Why is she staying in a crappy old attic that's haunted by the ghost of Francisca? Why are you keeping her there? I'm like, okay, great. You let her out once a year for some fresh air. Delightful. But I almost feel like that's the most disappointing ending so far. Which is such a bummer, because I loved everything leading up to the ending. Like, the whole romance with Lugus and everything made sense. Like, it progressed nicely. I was invested. I was ready for shenanigans in the ending. Instead, it's just like, kind of duty protection? Like, they're fond of each other, obviously, but it's just... I am saddened. I am a saddened bean over here. How is Levon's the most satisfying so far? I felt like the most unsettled during his, but it ended like the most satisfyingly. Hawklord unlocked Lugus's ending. Yay. Well, at least the screen changed. Looks great. His eyelashes are delightful. He also looks like he might be dead. He looks very gray. Anyway, okay, well, I'm a little mixed on this ending, personally. I don't know what you guys thought of it. I hope you enjoyed it. I did enjoy it. Oddly enough, like, the thing I enjoyed the most was, like, the Olgar and Jed, you know, last moments together was kind of neat. But at least we know that Olgar dying doesn't end the world, so I guess so much for that theory. We'll maybe have to see if killing our girl changes things at some future point. But, yeah, I don't know where Lugus is gonna fall now. I thought for sure he'd be number 1, but now I'm like I'm a little torn. Which is not something I was expecting to say at this juncture. But anyway, I will have to think about that. I'll have to meditate on my feelings a little later. Once we have all the endings done, then I can kind of compare everything and be like, how do I feel about all of this? Anyway, that is it for Ashen Hawk for right now. Thank you guys for joining me. I think I need some cheering up. So, well, oh no, cheering up. I say that, but I forget whose route is next in Taisho Alice Heads and Tails, and that's the stupid little gremlin Gretel. Well, I'm sure I'll be laughing in pain, at least. That's kind of like laughing. That's kind of like being cheered up, right? Laughing in pain. Oh boy, I cannot wait. Yep. Alright, well. Hopefully I'll see you over for Gretel's route. If not, I'll see you back here when we do Hugh's. That should be an adventure. Adventures are in store for us either way. Anyway, I'm gonna shut up. Thank you guys for joining me. Until next time, I will see you later.